for a long time, you could only see it on cable stations like Turner Classic Movies. But in recent years, it's been released through the Warner Archive collection. It stars Claude Rains as Victor Brandison, a true crime radio show host who is captivated by macabre tales of murder. Now, the setting at the radio station, which frames the film, will appeal to fans of old-time radio and mystery shows like Lights Out and The Whistler. And I know there are some fans of old-time radio in the audience tonight. Now, the film offers a glimpse into the then new technology of broadcasts by transcription, where live performances could be replaced by record albums. Now, this will be used as a plot point as the mystery unfolds. But the film is really it's more a thriller than it is a mystery, since we know who the killer is early on. Now, the only real mystery afoot is why actress Joan Caulfield gets top billing over Claude Rains. Now, at this stage in his career, Rains was one of the great Hollywood character actors. He excelled in suave villainy, having previously starred in such films as Casablanca, Notorious, and Deception. Now, there is a delicacy to his performance. Like whispers in the dark, his words are soothingly hypnotic. Now, he had one of the most mellifluous voices in Hollywood, and this is used to great advantage in a film partially set at a radio station. The Unsuspected offered Rains a rare leading role at this stage in his career, although director Michael Curtiz originally wanted Orson Welles for the part, which kind of makes sense because Orson Welles was a great radio star. Curtiz had also sought Jennifer Jones and then Joan Fontaine for the role of Brandison's niece. Now, though both were fine actresses, Audrey Totter's interpretation of Althea was perfect. Now, of working with director Michael Curtiz, Totter told film noir historian Eddie Muller he liked my work and wanted to put me under personal contract. He'd started his own company, and Doris Day was the only other one he'd signed up. But Metro wouldn't let him have me. I'm glad they didn't, because his company didn't pan out and was folded into Warner's. Betty Davis was there, Ida Lupino, people who would have played my parts. Now, Totter, who was born in Joliet, Illinois in 1917, passed away just last December at the age of 95. Now, she is best known for the many film noirs she starred in. Some of these crime dramas include The Postman Always Rings Twice, Lady in the Lake, The High Wall, The Setup, and Tension, among others. By the end of the 1950s, however, her film career was in decline, and she turned to television. But films like The Unsuspected best showcase her talents as a femme fatale with an acidic tongue. Now, in his biography on Claude Rains, John T. Soyster writes, Rains and Audrey Totter, too, are almost too broad to be real, but they differ from the others in that they are mirror images, and each complements and fills out the other. Totter had come to find a comfortable niche in noirish thrillers, where her gold-digging propensities and eye-popping figure usually led some poor schnook straight to perdition. Here, her motives are always and everywhere transparent, while Rains, of course, is the unsuspected. The shapely actress is always lit well, her assets and her actions solid, seductive, and readily apparent. The actor is frequently a shadow or a reflection during his more reprehensible moments. And Totter is the flesh, Rains is the spirit. Together, they are one, with identical goals, if disparate methods. Rains' several tete-a-tetes with Totter are the highlights of the film. Also starring is the aforementioned Joan Caulfield as Matilda. She was a former New York fashion model who did mostly television work in later years, And like Audrey Totter, one of her last acting performances was in a 1987 episode of Murder, She Wrote. Constance Bennett was one of the great stars of the 1930s, having appeared in films like What Price Hollywood and Topper. Here, she has a supporting role as Grandison's radio producer. Michael North plays Stephen Francis Howard, a character whose arrival in the film is as mysterious as the disappearance of the man playing him. North had appeared in movies prior to this under the name Ted North. He appeared in The Devil Thumbs a Ride that same year. But The Unsuspected appears to have been his last film. Little is known about what became of him. The Unsuspected recalls another film noir, Laura, and both films feature an oil painting of a young girl believed to be missing. It's interesting that Dana Andrews, who starred in Laura, was supposedly sought by Curtiz for the Stephen Howard role. As with Laura, The Unsuspected has a number of eccentric characters, well-to-do socialites with their own intrigues and desires. But it's hard to say they are red herrings. The audience already knows the guilty party, but that doesn't take away from the enjoyment of seeing the murderer's cat and mouse game unfold. The Unsuspected is not the recognized classic that Laura is, but in many ways it's a superior film noir with some extremely unsettling moments, which I'm not going to give away just yet. I mentioned a few in my speech, but I just would rather have the surprise hit you. If mystery is all you're looking for, you'd probably be better served with an episode of Murder, She Wrote. Story is not everything, especially in regards to films like this. We appreciate these films for their visual dynamic. The Unsuspected is one of the most strikingly photographed film noirs of the 1940s. Of course, when we use the term film noir, we are referring to a visual style prevalent in crime films throughout the 1940s and 1950s. These films were very dark, both in terms of theme as well as their look, with their use of shadows and low-key lighting. Primarily due to economy, many low-budget films at this time used the stylistics of what years later would be called noir. Studios like RKO especially made so many B-movies that fit into this category. What's interesting about The Unsuspected is that, like Curtiz's Mildred Pierce, it's a major film made under the studio system, and it applies the same visual stylistic principles. What separates The Unsuspected from so many other crime films is the cinematography by Woody Burdell. The English-born Burdell had been an actor in silent films before becoming a still photographer and then a cinematographer. In the early 1940s, he worked at Universal, where he photographed films like The Mummy's Hand and Ghost of Frankenstein. He worked on Sherlock Holmes and The Voice of Terror, and this was a clear indication of how atmospheric his work could be. Two exceptional examples of his visuals can be found in two films that he made with director Robert Siodmak, Phantom Lady and The Killers. In both, you'll find the kind of single-source lighting seen in some of the best noirs of the era. An example of this in The Unsuspected comes early when we hear Claude Rains' voice over the airwaves, and we see an unsavory-looking character, played by Jack Lambert, sitting on a bed in a seedy hotel. The neon light from the hotel sign outside lights the interior of the room. Note the letters that are flashing, the neon sign, the letters that are flashing in the window. Burdell's photography in The Unsuspected rivals the best of another great noir cinematographer, John Alton. Burdell and Curtiz make this one of the most cinematic films you will see, with their mobile camera and brilliant compositions. The lighting turns an upscale mansion into a shadowy den of hidden secrets and dark reflections. The mood is further enhanced by the musical score of Franz Waxman. All these elements make this one of the most underrated of all film noirs. The Unsuspected was released in 1947, So it's easy to see how this film got overlooked. There was a year that also saw the release of films like Out of the Past, Kiss of Death, Crossfire, T-Men, Desperate, and Nightmare Alley. The Unsuspected was not a hit with critics. Even Michael Curtiz was rather dismissive of it when he said that it looks as though I tried to make a great picture out of a story that wasn't basically a great story. But there's so much more here than just story. Over the years, fans who have rediscovered this film often rank it as one of the best of the period. I suspect you will feel the same. Thank you.